something when people aren't in here and it's just like idle time.
Do they repost it later? I mean, jokes might be fun. Hang on, we'll break something.
Yeah, when we post it later.
Yeah.
We're just waiting for all the lovely people to join in to our Insta Live. Oh, we have 2 people. Hi, welcome in. Thanks for joining our Instagram Live. We do this bi-weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. If this is your first one, send a question through the chat and we will answer it in this session. We do have questions that we'll be covering as well, so we're going to wait for a few more.
Right now it's just Rosa. Hello.
People to join in.
If you have a question, you have a text box, shoot it on through.
Hello.
Hello. Oh.
Welcome in. Hello. Yes, we're getting some more people. Shoot all your questions through, guys. We'll start answering shortly. Thanks for joining. As we were just saying, we do this bi-weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Let's jump in. So, this is Emily.
Hi.
I'm Nicole.
That's Nicole.
We're your first point of contact when you reach out to us. So, we answer all your lovely questions and we help get you on the path to success.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into some questions real quick and then we can review if anyone new joins. What have you got for me?
Do you have any tips on how to choose an overseas production partner?
Yeah. If you're doing massive volume, that's a great time to start thinking about that, and that's certainly something like we have overseas partners and we can assist you with that. If you are a brand starting out and doing anything less than 2,000 units per style or even per color sometimes, it's not really that feasible. You will deal with a whole lot of issues around communication, quality control, and being able to manage that, getting things on time, and then you start to run into, as you are like a smaller brand, if you get something from China or any part of Asia or Mexico or South America and it's not what you asked for, you can't turn around and then ask for them to fix that in a timely manner just in general, because you can't sue China, you can't sue Mexico. I mean, America's trying, but you just can't do that. So you're setting yourself up for so much risk when you can literally sign a contract with us and you're getting a legal promise of like a certain quality of work.
Yeah, definitely. That kind of ties in with the next question we got asked. How do you ensure QC with overseas and domestic manufacturing partners? 2-part question.
You want to take that one?
Sure. So she just kind of went over what quality check looks like overseas, but when you're doing it in the US and specifically with us, we do 4 QC checks throughout the entire production run. So that's built into your production cost to ensure that you're going to get the quality that you're expecting, that matches your sew by sample that we make before we move into production. We'll sign a contract with you stating that
it depends on, development and production are a little different. It essentially says, here is the body of work that you are asking for and paying us for, and here is what we promise you and what we expect of you and what you can expect from us. Let's both sign it and agree to it and do that for you.
But as far as, production, it ensures quality of your product as well.
Yeah. It's like, if we screw up, we'll fix it. Like, if there's damages, we'll fix it. If there is a timeline that we promise, we will deliver on time. So all of those things are super important. I saw a question pop up, how much is the contract? The contract isn't a cost in there. We sign a contract. When you place an order with us, whether that be for development or production, we sign an agreement with you or a contract outlining those things.
Do you make shoes in your factory?
Nah.
No.
That's if you get into the sneaker game in the US, we got schooled on that really. It was like $100,000 to develop one shoe. It's a totally different ball game, not really something we handle.
That's crazy. Okay, let's see here. As a smaller brand, do you suggest combining fall, winter, and spring, summer to better control cost and stretch marketing dollars? Trade shows, how many per year?
That's a really good question. Sometimes, yeah, that does make sense. Like combining the two, like it lets you combine a lot more styles and do less production runs, and it will bring down some of your cost of marketing dollars. You've kind of answered your own questions. Also, sometimes when you're starting out, trade shows aren't always the best option because you want to do direct to consumer. You're going to scale faster, and when you're a smaller brand, you're just not getting the volume in wholesale orders that's really going to grow your brand.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I think one really good example is Magic. Their booth there, I think, is $10,000. And the amount of brands continues to grow, and the amount of buyers stays the same. So your opportunity to get any face time with somebody that can spend money with you is just decreasing more and more and more. Whereas if you put that money directly into Facebook and Instagram ads, you'll see a much faster conversion of that ad spend.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys offer tours?
Yeah, come into our office. Like, let's have a chat. Let's see what you're about, and what's going on with your brand and your needs. And you're always more than welcome to come down to the office.
Do you work with fabric manufacturers? It depends on the client. A lot of them we use like import goods or things that are already made in the market. But we do have vendors that we can make custom fabric for you with. It's just at a much higher like MOQ. You have to order a lot more yardage.
Yeah, and it depends on, sometimes you don't necessarily need that. Like if you want to mill your own fabric, we've done it before, and it's really for brands with like highly technical like apparel, or like we did it for a medical company because they needed like these specific content things because it was like, you know, life or death situations. You know, if you are doing like any kind of general fashion brand, LA just has millions of yards of in-stock fabric, and you're significantly better off choosing something that's already in stock and already made, as opposed to buying 1,000 yards of something that you may just be stuck with. You really want to, especially early on, you want to mitigate as much risk as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm. What is your MOQ? Our favorite question. 300 units per style.
I think I want to get that tattooed on my body somewhere.
Yeah, same. And then the second part of that question is, are you willing to negotiate lower?
Look, if you're coming in as a brand with one style and you want to do one style and like 200 or 100 units, I'm going to say absolutely not. You also like want to buy more inventory because no one's getting rich off 300 units. And if we do 50 units, no one's going to do anything with that. And if you cannot sell 300 units, what are we doing? I'll be as frank as possible. You have no business starting a brand if you can't sell 300 units. But if you come through with like 10, 15 styles and some of them are higher priced items, like yes, there's room to negotiate because you have a lot more going on across the board. Sometimes I think we're doing some expensive jackets right now that like each jacket is going to cost over $100 per style. And so sometimes we'll lower it for that, especially because they're high ticket items. People don't buy them as much, but they merchandise well with the rest of their collection. And they'll be ordering 300 of each of those.
300 units per style per color?
Yeah, so you can break it down into colors within that.
Yeah, typically it's about 3. But it depends on like the garment you're making, because if we're doing underwear, you can get a lot more out of a yard of fabric for that, and then we start to run into fabric minimums with our vendors. So there would be like a higher price. If we do more than 3 colors as well, we have to change the thread in the machines, so then that adds an extra cost as we're going through production as well, if you're doing 3 colors at 300 units.
Sometimes you have to think about it as your whole collection. Like we had a brand that did a button-up shirt, a short, and a pant, and each style was actually made out of the same linen fabric. So because they were doing more than our MOQ, but they were able to fit more colors in there, especially with the minimums, because they had the same fabric across 3 styles, they had more buying power with their fabric. Yeah. So that's another thing to consider as well. All of that stuff with colors and bits and pieces, if you're still conceptualizing, that's really those nitty-gritty bits and pieces you can get into with your project manager, and that's something we can plan out a little further along.
How much will it cost to start a sweatshirt business?
We get asked this question all the time, like, how much does it cost? Like, what are we making? And so we really want to put it onto you. Like, what is your budget? At the end of the day, regardless of how much a product costs to make, your consumer is still only going to spend a certain amount of dollars. And that amount comes first. Your retail price point comes first, because your manufacturing price point will fluctuate throughout time. Hopefully down, because as you grow, you will order more, and the more you order, the less it is. We love Costco, there's a reason why. So figure out that price point first, and then we can work backwards to build you a product that fits in with that. But if you don't have the capital overall, like, regardless of how much something costs, like, there is also a certain amount of money that you have in the bank, or that you are able to get from investors, or that from a bank, like whatever that is, a loan, however you're getting it. So that's kind of how I would think about it.
Yeah, definitely. Will you send my samples back to me?
No, we burn them. Of course, we'll send them back. We have so many samples in here. We don't want them. It builds up over time, and people leave them and forget about them. And we want you to have all your samples back. Absolutely.
We're not your closet or your storage space, so it's our mission to give you your things back.
Yeah, the shelves behind my desk are currently overflowing with samples from so many different brands. What is your typical client starting at? 3 styles or 10? That's a really good question. And sometimes it really depends on your brand. Like, don't start, I mean, our minimum is 3 styles, but if you think about your collection and your brand and how you want to merchandise that, what does your brand need? Like, a good capsule is what, 6 to 8 styles to start with, without confusing your market. But some brands come through. We've just started production on a really cool overall company called Raleigh's, and they have 1 men's style and 1 women's style. But their whole product and their whole ethos is around like overalls and a good time, and that's their one like market. So they're doing a bunch of colors or whatever that is. That makes sense. But if you're doing like an athletic brand or a men's, women's contemporary or a swim brand, you want a little bit more variety so that they can spend more money with you.
And think about it in the sense of like merchandising it on your website or merchandising it with other pieces as well.
Yeah.
If you give them more things to put together, there is a higher chance that they're going to purchase more.
Yeah. If there's just a t-shirt on there, you're not giving them the jacket they could also spend money with, or the pants that they could also spend money with. And it's also, you've got like a bunch of walking billboards. Oh, Riley's in here. Hey guys.
I was going to say, you see that? Okay, perfect. So how can I ensure that my work is protected?
Part of the contract we sign with you has an NDA in there. We signed so many NDAs, and while we constantly talk about the brands that we work with because we love them and we believe in them and we want to support them as best we can. Your work is your work, and we don't want to share that. We've been around for about 6 years, and if we did, it's just not good for business on either side of things. You got a question that like just...
Yeah.
Would you recommend hiring a professional photographer, or do you think a good phone will do early on? That's one thing actually I really wouldn't skimp out on. If you spend all of this money on product and then it just looks like your product shots were taken on a phone, like think about it as a consumer. If you just see something that just kind of looks like a kid put it together, even though it could be a really, really well-made product, you're kind of like, you're roadblocking yourself. So spend the extra couple $100 or $1,000, get a really, really good photographer. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of money on a website. That's one thing. Like, there's Squarespace, there's Wix, there's a lot of tools out there to help you build a website affordably. Spend the money on a good photographer.
What are standout best business practices for starting a brand? I'm working on coming down there to work with you guys. Oh, those are 2 different things.
Cool.
I think there's a few different things. One, really knowing what exactly you want, and who your customer is, and having a clear vision of what you're expecting, kind of, and not relying a lot on, I don't want to say us, because you will be relying on us, but we're not the person who's going to tell you, like, this is your customer, this is how you should market things, like having that kind of figured out already. So then that way when we're going through the process, you can be working on the other things as well to kind of like
Yeah.
get your brand up and running.
Yeah.
And we're not stuck in development because
You can't make a decision
Yeah.
on a fabric that's like 4 ounces versus 4.2 ounces.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, like, we can tell you if you need cover stitch or overlock, but if you ask us which font or logo you think would serve your customer better, like all of that creative stuff, like you are your brand and you know your customers significantly better than we do. And we have an opinion, and that's fine, but it may not be in line with what you're looking for. So the best thing that anyone can do is just be like so clear and know what you want, and don't come to us until you can answer all of those questions, because you're just going to waste your own time and waste your own money like figuring that out.
Yeah.
And so just drill yourself as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's a big part of like a good practice in the like development kickoff meeting too. Like we're gonna ask you like what makes you different. Why is somebody gonna want to buy your product than someone else? And like, I guess who's your customer? What's their price point they're willing to buy things at?
Yeah.
Thinking about those different elements is a really good thing before starting to like move forward.
Yeah. Go through it. Yeah. Everyone can download our cheat sheet on the website. Probably all, if you've got the email to get here today, like everyone can get it online. If you don't, hit us up, Emily at IndieSource or Nicole at IndieSource.com, and we'll send you out the cheat sheet. If you can answer all the questions in there, it's a pretty good indicator of where you're at. And if you can't, spend the time to figure it out. Like, if you're not ready yet, you're not ready yet. And when you start, will be the right time for you.
Exactly. Do you guys have any video / advice on creating a tech pack? Ooh, I did a video last week talking about a tech pack, but it wasn't really creating one.
Tech packs are really important, and if you have the technical experience to do that, yeah, you should. But because they are essentially the Bible and instruction manual, you shouldn't need one if you know how to make one, and that will make one for you.
Yeah, in development, every style, every customer gets a tech pack.
Yeah. What's the website again? IndieSource.com. So the name of our company.com.
Cool. These questions were kind of already answered. How often would you recommend going to trade shows?
Again, trade shows may not be the right fit for you. I think going to like 1 or 2 smaller trade shows that are kind of in your demographic are really good to kind of, especially if you haven't been one before, go assess, figure out like what is in your market, who is your competition, who are you aspiring to be, what are people doing in that space. But I don't think it's necessary to go to a bunch of them, to be honest.
I agree. Just having been to quite a few. I don't know if it's the most necessary thing if you're not trying to do wholesale.
Yeah, and if you're a brand starting out, don't do it to yourself.
Yeah.
Like we go to Magic as we as a company do, and it makes sense for us a lot of the time. I don't think we will be going in August this year because it hasn't been as successful in recent years as it has further along in the past. So, I mean, just head up. The internet's such a great tool.
I'm so excited to get started.
We're excited for you to get started too.
Yes.
Hit us up. Tell us about your brand. Let's figure it out.
If you're not already working with one of us, we're your girls. Okay. All of these questions, I believe the person who sent me an email is actually in the chat.
I know it's vague. What's a typical or expected timeline from kickoff meeting to delivered products? So I understand it is vague, and I 100% understand wanting to gauge timelines and stuff like that until we know what the scope of the project is, because you could come through and say, hey, I want to make this t-shirt and this hoodie and these sweatpants, and another brand could come in and say the same thing, and then brand A could say like stock patterns, stock fabrics, here's a screen print, go, and then brand B could say, I want to get this weird fabric that you can't find very easily. I also want to custom dye everything. And then we're going to digitally print all over the place.
You
and do
forgot
some
the
engineering
custom
stuff.
elastic.
Oh yeah. Anytime you introduce a custom element to things, or we rely so heavily on the resources that are around us that aren't always in our facility, because we're sourcing materials from everywhere. So while we say in general your first round is between 4 and 6 weeks, your development project could go on for 10 rounds if you choose it to be so. We don't want it to. So let's let's hit us up and we'll create a timeline based on you. And once we start actually doing the project, we'll be able to update you on what that looks like for you specifically.
I think it also ties back to how decisive you are as well. We have clients that are like, I want this, and they're moving through development like this.
And then we have clients where we send out swatch sheets and it can take weeks to make a decision on one fabric.
Yeah.
Oh, you've already spoken with me. Hi, sorry. Nicole's screen's cracked, so I can't see anybody's username.
Do you guys only work within the US?
It depends on what it is. Like, we are the manufacturer, so our factory is here, downtown LA. We rely really heavily on the resources around us because it's the fastest, it's the easiest, it's the most reliable. But sometimes we have to go overseas. Sometimes with custom elastic and with custom items and stuff like that, the machines straight up just don't exist here.
Yeah.
So it depends. But mostly, yes.
Good to put a face with a name. That's what we love. Okay, that's actually all of the questions that we had gotten sent through. So any questions that you guys have, send them through now so we can answer them, and then we'll wrap this up. And then if you do have questions, you can email Emily at IndieSource, Nicole at IndieSource, info at IndieSource, DM us.
You could even like IndieSource roulette. Just make up a name, add IndieSource, see if someone replies. I mean, don't. I was supposed to contact IndieSource to talk to you about my samples. Yeah, one of us. Hi, Stephen. What else have we got here? Are there large price differences between organic and non-organic cotton fabrics? Yeah, there are.
Yeah. Recently, I was doing sourcing, and it was like $2 different for PFD, which is pretty typical.
Yeah. It depends as well, like, what's really important to your brand. So you're going to... It's just like buying food, you know, like you go to the produce section and an organic tomato versus a conventional tomato are going to cost different amounts. And it's the same with fabric as well. Sometimes they're $1 or $2, sometimes it's $6 difference. It depends on what you're getting. Figuring out what's most important first before thinking about the cost of each single element and prioritizing what's important to your brand first before making those decisions, I think is important.
Very informative information. Thanks.
Thank you. We really appreciate it when people come through, and this has been a really interactive Instagram Live. I forgot words for a second.
Yeah, we love it. Okay, perfect. We got another. Thanks for your info. Thanks for joining. When we are ready, can we have our fabric that we choose delivered to you?
Wow, you're reading a little... I love your intonation. When we're ready, can we have our fabric that we choose to deliver to your shop to produce our garments? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every brand's really different, and so we develop for a lot of different brands and source their fabric and do that ordering for them. But if you already have that figured out, just order it and send it to us. It just eliminates a step in the process that we have to handle, and that's not a problem at all.
Do you work with bamboo fabric? Is it typically more expensive? It's a tough question to answer. It depends on the quality and the type of fabric that you're making. Hi, Zach.
I think we just looked at recently, there's bamboo, and then you can even get bamboo made out of rayon. So it's more, there's so much different stuff out there, and I think just figuring out what you want first, and then we'll see what's on the market.
Yeah, definitely.
Is the best thing to do. Before making assumptions about anything, tell us what you want and we'll see what's available so you can make an informed decision on what's actually there.
Yeah, because from there we'll also solidify a budget with you too, and we'll only find you material that's what you're looking for in that budget, instead of finding you a bamboo fabric that's way more than you're looking to spend, like $17 a yard, and then...
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
Can't.
We want to help you make informed decisions. That's
Not
our goal.
ideal. Yeah. Okay, let's see. We have this one. How could you ensure the overseas factories you want to work with are compliant with ethical guides and guidelines with workers' rights?
That's a really good question. It's tough, and that's really another reason why we don't work with like a lot of overseas factories. There are some international governing bodies like fair trade and stuff like that, but it does take more investigation, and so when we're doing that. It just takes more work. I don't have all the answers for that right now, though.
Yeah, same. Bamboo for t-shirts.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
soft.
tons of vendors that have it. We can definitely find that for you. Okay, cool. I think that wraps up. Let's go through the questions we get asked frequently. Do you make kids wear?
Yes.
Do we make athletic wear?
Sometimes. A lot, yes.
Do we make swimwear?
Uh-huh.
I think those are the ones I get asked the most.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Also, denim and leather. That's not for us.
No.
There are some vendors out there that do it. It's a very, very lengthy, denim especially, is a very lengthy and intense process. So educating yourself on that a little more before getting stuck into things. But there are other denim substitutes that are great as well. So yeah, thanks for joining in, guys.
Yeah, I think we're signing off. Thanks, guys. We'll be doing this not next Monday, but the Monday after.
Sign up to our newsletter and you will you'll get an email from us letting you know.
Yes, and then we'll answer all of your questions in this beautiful Insta Live. Thanks, guys.
Bye.